Sanjay Jha, you've been patiently waiting. I want to ask you honestly, would you concede that today we can debate endlessly with whether this is Modi impact or Modi wave, but would you concede this is Congress debacle? That this is a day where the Congress has lost 2 more states. You are now increasingly restricted to what? Karnataka, Kerala, Uttarakhand, Himachal and Mizoram and Assam. 6 states in the country is all that the Congress has in the country left today out of 29.
Rajdeep, a minor correction. We are there in 8 states, but having said that, I will concede. I will completely concede that we are extremely disappointed with the outcome in Haryana. But as far as Maharashtra is concerned, I mean, since I have been reading a lot of opinion in exit polls, which wrote us off, I can tell you that despite being 15 years in government and having this huge anti-incumbency everybody talked about, if the Congress and NCP together already have around 100 seats or near 100 seats, it goes to tell you that if the NCP hadn't perhaps been, politically opportunistic, you would have had the Congress NCP almost close to the halfway mark.
The NCP was right,
so,
Sanjay.
we'll wait for the final outcome
today is the
to
number
emerge.
4
But I want to
party
make
in
one point
Maharashtra.
on your channel.
That's what the NCP said.
I want to make just
that
one
your
point on your
strength is
channel.
down to being the number 4 party. You're at 46, the NCP is at 48. What does that say for the Congress that was the leading party in the 2009 elections?
Well, some time ago we were close to the Shiv Sena. But Rahul, I think the 2009 election is not the barometer of comparison. A lot has happened since then. I think all of us know it. But if you look at the 2014...
The big question, of course, is that there are big losers and winners. Even in these battles, you will see big winners and losers. And some of them are really big leaders. I mentioned Narayan Rane a short while ago. Revenue Minister, he was seen as the king of Kudal in Konkan. He's suffering an election defeat, if I'm not mistaken, for the first time after more than 2 decades. So there are big losers, particularly this time from the Congress and NCP in Maharashtra, and also Congress leaders in Haryana who've bitten the dust. Rahul, give us a sense of some of the VIP candidates.
That's not actually true, Rajdeep. If you look at the figures, towards the end, they're all pulling back. There were several big NCP and Congress leaders who were losing initially, who were trailing. They've now seemed to have pulled it back. Let's take it starting at the top with Narayan Rane. He's lost from Kudal in Maharashtra. This is interesting because this is the one seat for which we now have the final result. Narayan Rane has lost. Eknath Khatse is leading from Muktai Nagar. Devinder Fadnavis from the Nagpur Southwest seat, he's leading as well, as is Amita Chavan, Ashok Chavan's wife from Bhokar. Eknath Khatse, as I said, from Mukti Nagar in Maharashtra, he's leading on his seat. Apart from this, Chhagan Bhujbal in Nandgaon from the NCP, who was earlier trailing, has now been able to pull it back. He's now leading on his seat in Nandgaon. OBC leader, former Deputy Chief Minister, now in Yevla in Maharashtra, he's actually trailing. Let's now come to Bhiwandi East, where Abu Azmi is trailing. Samajwadi Party, prominent Muslim face. He's actually trailing in Bhiwandi East. Let's come to Borivali, where Vinod Tavde, another possible chief ministerial candidate for the BJP, he's winning on his seat.
And this is the first time he's contesting an election.
Vinod Tavde, yes. Urban face, Mumbai face, he's leading on his seat in Borivali. Kalina, where Kripa Shankar Singh, heavyweight of the Congress party, is actually trailing on his seat in Kalina. Then you've got the Dharavi seat, where Eknath Gaikwad of the Congress party, this is a reserved seat, Eknath Gaikwad is leading on the Dharavi reserved seat. This is Kripa Shankar Singh in Kalina, Maharashtra, former Mumbai Congress chief accused in corruption cases. He's leading on his seat. Can we move to the next? This is Varsha Gaikwad, Eknath Gaikwad's daughter, sitting MLA, leading on Dharavi, the reserved seat in Maharashtra. After this, Sachin Ahir, Baramati. No, Sachin Ahir in Varli, NCP, he's trailing. Let's come to Baramati, where Ajit Pawar of the NCP is leading, not just in Baramati, but also in all the adjoining constituencies where the Pawar Largesse factory works overtime. They're actually holding on to that bastion. It'll be interesting as the day goes along to see whether the victory margins are actually coming down. Then Pankaja Munde from Parli in Maharashtra in Bid, she's actually leading. She is one of the contenders for the Chief Minister's post, and there is a sense that many in the BJP could now be pushing for her, as also those in the Shiv Sena. as a counter to a Nagpur Brahmin to be made the chief ministerial candidate. Amit Deshmukh was earlier trailing his Vilasrao Deshmukh's son. Amit Deshmukh in Latur city is now leading on his seat. Leading also is Pariniti Sushil Kumar Shinde. She is Sushil Kumar Shinde's daughter. She was earlier trailing on her seat. She is now been able to recover and is leading once again. He's also now very, very relieved. The man on your screen, former Chief Minister Prithviraj Chavan, would be very thankful that in Karad South, despite being up against a very strong rebel candidate, a 7-time winner from that seat, this is his father's constituency, but thankfully for Prithviraj Chavan, he's being spared the ignominy of defeat. He's actually leading. Let's now come to Nitesh Rane, he's leading on his seat in Kankam.
Okay, so the big story also that is coming in, we are being told by sources, this is sources that Uddhav Thackeray has claimed that these results show that there is no Modi wave. Now, we don't know what message Uddhav Thackeray is trying to send out. Trends show no Modi wave in Maharashtra is what Uddhav Thackeray is appearing to suggest at the moment. You know, Shekhar Gupta, you did a walk the talk with Uddhav Thackeray. Do you make a sense that Uddhav Thackeray wants the chief ministership badly? Because contrasted with his father, whatever else about Balasaheb, one thing he said, I am the remote control from day one. Uddhav Thackeray seems to be doing just the opposite. He wants the chief ministership. How do you interpret Uddhav Thackeray's relationship with Narendra Modi? Is he willing to concede space to Narendra Modi, given that Modi is the national leader?
Well, Balasaheb was a person of a very different kind. He was more in the mold of Napoleon. What is a throne? It's an overpriced piece of furniture. He could have all the power he wanted without having the throne, even when he was not in power. Look, whatever Uddhav Thackeray may want, he has no choice now. He has to concede the chief ministership to BJP if he comes back. Because
do you see the 2.5 year formula? Is that do you see him having the bargaining power?
I mean, if you look at the political history of India, it has never worked. It is the surest guarantee of your destruction going ahead. It has never worked.
Could he ask for 2 union ministerships, say, look, you only gave me 1 union ministership, give me 2 more?
Well, he could, and if he did, I think that will be a fair demand, because given how important an ally is he, for him to just get Anand Gite in cabinet, and that too as heavy industries minister, which as we know means nothing, was a bit of an insult.
So hard bargaining. So you think Uddhav will do hard bargaining?
No, I think Uddhav can at the center demand his due, because BJP was arrogant with him. I think BJP, after parliament elections, BJP had begun to believe they will not need Uddhav anymore. And they started the process of distancing themselves from Uddhav right away. In fact, there were many in the BJP who felt inclined to Raj Thackeray, thinking that he's a worthier successor to his uncle's legacy.
I respect his journalistic knowledge of all these things, but it is secondary knowledge as far as
I'm not an insider in BJP.
As an insider, I mean, I'm not an insider as much as you are probably in the BJP.
I see.
Come on, Seshadri Jari. Now that's unfair.
Let me tell you, it's not the question of this. We wanted to change the dialogue process. With Balasaheb Thackeray, it was a very different issue. Pramod Mahajan and Gopinath Munde and everyone else in the BJP at that time was much, I mean, age-wise also.
You treat Uddhav as a junior leader. You don't treat him seriously. And there is a section that Shekhar is right, who thought that Raj Thackeray has more dynamism.
No, if Uddhav Thackeray decided to behave and expected to be treated the same way as his father was treated by the BJP, I don't think he expected that, but if he expected that, it was wrong.
But this is
therefore, it was very much in control.
Yes. So I'm saying this is Diwali season and there's a game of political teen patti that's on. During the break, I had an opportunity to speak to a very senior General Secretary of the Bharatiya Janata Party involved in talks with the Shiv Sena and the NCP. He said offer aa raha hai, dono se offer aa raha hai, aap dekho. So this is the message. While Uddhav is saying that there's no Modi wave, the message from the BJP is that they're now in talks with both the NCP and the Shiv Sena. They believe if the Shiv Sena plays tough to get, they will be able to get the NCP on board. That's the message the BJP is sending out.
But Siddharth Bhatia, Manini Chatterjee, do you believe it's a done deal, or will there be hard bargaining? Will this be done in the next 24 hours? Next 24 hours, we'll have a BJP Shiv Sena alliance, or will this be prolonged and require a lot of backroom negotiations? Quick word.
I think it will be quite fast, because nobody wants to waste time, but the bargaining will be tough, and Shiv Sena in the government will be a very difficult customer. This I'm very sure.
Quick point.
Yeah, more than Maharashtra, since Siddharth knows Maharashtra better than me, I think this will have implications at the centre too. Because from May onwards, the feeling was in the BJP and in the country at large and the media too, that there had been a tectonic shift in Indian politics, and there was this almost presidential style leader on whose name they would win every election. The first reality...
They won. They've become single largest
they've done well, of
in
course.
Maharashtra, winning Haryana.
But compared to what I'm saying that after that first, a bit of a reality check came with the by-election. So people thought that the by-elections were atypical.
Yes.
After the by-election, this one comes. It basically shows that within the BJP, Mr. Sheshadri will not, Chari will not agree in public, but within the BJP itself, this idea of one-man domination was beginning to bother people. So now it is like, yeah, of course the BJP is well ahead, but it is not that things have changed completely and Indian politics, regional loyalties, caste loyalties, all kinds of things are also at play.
I think you make an interesting point, because this comes against the backdrop of the by-elections, which were a bit of a prick in the balloon, and now whatever the BJP gains through Maharashtra and Haryana, there is a slight dampener as a result of having to reach out once again to an Uddhav Thackeray. But Sahil Joshi, you have more on what Uddhav Thackeray has exactly said. Has he said this formally, or is this only off the record comments that he has made to party men that there is no Modi wave in Maharashtra?
Uddhav Thackeray spoke to me formally on telephone, and he has clearly said that the results till now are clearly showing that there is no wave exists in Maharashtra, and he said that he has been saying this since quite a long time, especially when he spoke in the rallies, that there is no wave, and he's happy that Shiv Sena was able to stop painting this kind of a picture that there is a wave all across the India, especially in Maharashtra and Haryana. It clearly shows that in Maharashtra there is no wave. When I asked him that which party Shiv Sena will support, because now the BJP has clearly said that Om Mathur and Devendra Fadnavis will go and come and meet you, Uddhav Thackeray said that they haven't yet decided that which party they will be supporting to form the government. He just said that formally I would just tell you that the party which will have the united Maharashtra, which will promise for united Maharashtra, and of course the term which has been used by BJP, by Sena, by NCP as well, that for the betterment of Maharashtra, Uddhav Thackeray will accept the proposal, but the party which will speak only about united Maharashtra, Shiv Sena will go with them. So he hasn't
how
ruled
does
out
this
any
impact
option.
the race
There are
to be
various
chief
options.
minister? How does this impact the race for chief minister? You've got Devendra Fadnavis, who was the supposed front runner so far, but that was only if the BJP got a majority. Now they haven't got a majority. The Shiv Sena will have a say. Will they have a veto? There's also talks about a parallel discussion on with the NCP. Is a Shiv Sena BJP government a sure shot, or is the NCP likely to put their hands up and say, we can also come in and chip in if required?
Now let me first tell you what Uddhav Thackeray said about this. When I asked him exactly the same question, that the BJP is now the single largest party, so what would you have a choice that BJP should have a particular chief minister, or there is a possibility that Shiv Sena may propose that 2.5 years Shiv Sena's chief minister will be there, and 2.5 years BJP chief minister will be there. So Uddhav did not make any comment on that. He said that all these things will happen later. First, he will speak to the media at around 1 or 2 o'clock at Shiv Sena Bhavan. He will address a press conference, and later, as and when he will be approached by BJP, the rest of the talks will happen. But yes, for sure that who will be the chief minister of Maharashtra will now not only be decided by BJP, but it will also have some kind of impact from the alliance partner which BJP will choose, or the alliance partner which will agree to go with BJP.
Who is that
That's for
individual,
sure.
Sahil?
Now we'll have to...
Who is that individual whom the Shiv Sena is most comfortable with? Since you track it on a day-to-day basis, is there someone whom they prefer?
See, at this point of time, there is no one Shiv Sena likes in the BJP. They have a good relationship with Nitin Gadkari. They have spoken in the rallies against especially Eknath Khadse, because Shiv Sena believes that it was Eknath Khadse which actually went ahead and spoke against Shiv Sena so that this alliance should not happen. Pankaja Munde would have been a choice because Shiv Sena hasn't put any candidate against Pankaja Munde, but they know that Pankaja Munde is politically lightweight right now in BJP. So the choice finally they have is Nitin Gadkari, Devendra Fadnavis and Vinod Taude. Out of
But
that,
I'll tell you,
if
Sahil,
the BJP decides,
sometimes political lightweights win in coalition governments. When it comes to coalitions, it might suit the Shiv Sena also to push for a lightweight. So let's not rule out Pankaja Munde. As you're right, the Shiv Sena did not put up a candidate against her. She's a woman, she's an OBC, we can't rule her out. But the others are important. Nitin Gadkari doesn't have a good relationship with Uddhav Thackeray. So clearly that issue is still open. We'll wait and come back to you in a moment once we get more news on that. We're getting more guests coming in. Bharat Kumar Raut, formerly a Shiv Sena MP, now a journalist, so I shall treat him in a sense as close to the Shiv Sena, is joining us. Also Muralidhar Rao of the BJP. But from a Shiv Sena perspective, Bharat Kumar Raut, who is that candidate? And from your own experience as a journalist, who will be most attractive to the Shiv Sena as Chief Minister if these two parties ally? Is there an individual who you think the Shiv Sena is most comfortable with as the next Maharashtra Chief Minister?
See, it is a very awkward situation for Shiv Sena now at present, because so far they were angling for number one, and Sanjay Raut has now the time and again gone said that Uddhavji Thackeray is our only choice for Chief Minister's post. Now they will have to leave that demand behind, and they will have to fall in line if they want to go for alliance with BJP. In that case, I would suggest they would like to see a lightweight candidate to be there. In that case, perhaps Pankaja Munde stands the best chance here, because Devendra Fadnavis is the party president. He has been there for 2 terms, and then he is a
so you think a lightweight. So you also agree. You also agree that the Shiv Sena will want a lightweight chief minister from the BJP. That might not suit Narendra Modi and Amit Shah on the other hand, who will want someone who's strong and will be able to impact Maharashtra politics. Mr. Muralidhar Rao, you want to give us a name? We are now in the business of speculation at this time. Who is that person who could be the BJP's candidate for chief minister, Mr. Muralidhar Rao? I don't think we are getting the line to Mr. Muralidhar Rao. We are coming up to 12 noon, and I think we should get across our panel in a moment. But Sanjay Jha, let me give you a final word before I come to my studio panel. From a Congress perspective, what are you now going to do in Maharashtra? Are you going to ask Sharad Pawar, let's unite forces and fight the BJP Shiv Sena? Just as the BJP Shiv Sena is talking about forming a government, will you all now have a united opposition both in Delhi and in Mumbai? Is that the only way out?
No, absolutely, Rajdeep. There's no two ways about it. We will be the opposition party in the event that the BJP cobbles up a government. We have to be in the opposition, and we will try and do the best that we can. Now, don't forget that over the last 15 years, even if we have lost today from which is very evident, the fact is that on all the indicators of performance, whether it's GDP, foreign direct investment, social and human development indicators like infant mortality rates, education enrollment, Maharashtra has been right in the forefront, by the way, including Haryana. So we have to somewhere down the line understand, that we have been in government, there was anti-incumbency, but probably like the UPA did at the center, we have not been an aggressive party in communication and marketing, and we need to really get that part of the act together. It can't be a continuous explanation for losing an election because we have delivered. I think this is where an election hurts you much more than one where there are obvious reasons why you may not have done well. But there is a lot of confidence in the Congress party. I think we will fight back. That organizationally we remain very strong. Don't forget the BJP has literally hijacked 1/3 candidates from the NCP and the Congress. So at the ground level the party is strong. We have Mr. Chavan who's looking good at the moment. So hopefully we will get our act together and fight back.
Mr. Chavan is looking good at the moment. Mr. Chavan in an interview just a few days ago said half your party was corrupt. So let's not go down that route, Mr. Sanjay Jha. The fact is that the Congress government may have delivered on a few issues in Maharashtra, but generally was seen to be a government which the perception was corrupt and unaccountable. Let's not run away from that. But I'm going to give my panel right around the studio the big takeaway, because some of you at noon want to go home and have a Sunday lunch. Others will have to stay on. Manishankar Iyer, your big takeaway from what you've seen this morning?
That you are wrong.
the BJP is not getting 155 seats, which I heard you say.
Surjit Bhalla said 155.
Then you said you're inclined to support him.
Yes, I
so
did.
I'm delighted.
But I'm putting it on
biggest takeaway is that once again Rajdeep Sardesai is wrong.
Okay.
The second and perhaps more important takeaway is that the Congress is still in the game, and that I think the chances of a BJP-Shiv Sena tie-up are somewhat greater than that of a BJP-NCP tie-up. And so if the NCP is in the opposition, whether we will it or not, we'll be on the same side against the party, against the BJP, as we are on the same side here in Delhi against the BJP government. And that's a good thing. And we are moving into a new era. And I think the third big lesson that I take away is that Rahul Gandhi is right in thinking that younger and newer faces should come into prominence.
I'm still waiting for those younger and newer faces. You know, you all keep saying Rahul Gandhi is coming, bringing in younger and newer faces. I'm still waiting for them. But Surjit Bhalla...
Naturally, that I too am waiting for it. The point is, you seem to
but I'm wondering whether you're one of the younger or newer faces.
No, I'm not one of those. I've now reached the age of Vanaprastha ashram, and you will be seeing...
Not sannyasa. You're not in sannyas, you're in Vanaprastha. That's good. You're Vanaprastha, still not in sannyas.
I'm never going to sannyas, I'd rather die.
Okay.
But what I do see is that there is in the Congress party a reserve army which this election indicates should be brought to the fore. I think that's a very important takeaway.